Turn Me On, Episode 6. It is I, Captain Vegetable, recording in a different space for the first time, so we can see how this go. So after my last episode, I suddenly remember an early adopter partner had a podcast must see over 10 years ago now called Caribbean Free Radio that also used Coqui Frogs as part of her background audio. And it was a real good show, Dread. I had to hail and find out if her archive's still out there for me to dig up in again sometime. But big up Georgia Popplewell, fellow appreciator of Caribbean arts and music and the sound of tropical nights. This wrongs, I read in an excerpt from something personal, written a while back but recently remembered when I was reminded that it still have people out here, some who know me and some who don't, still talking about my occasional public nudity like it's a scandal. So, on being naked. Recent weeks involve more public nudity than usual for me and in very varied circumstances. I grew up in a naked house. It's still a naked house to this day, and when I go there, we still as naked in it as in my youth. And my house, every home I ever had since leaving my parents' naked house, become a naked house by default of my living there, regardless of who else might be living there too. Friends know, if you're liming by me, you had to be cool with me in my panty because real friends do make you put on pants in your own house. And bona fides know when they come by me. They're free to take off their things and lime in their drawers too. But public nudity, different. Bearing oneself on stage or in nude photography or drawing sessions. Inviting the open scrutiny of strangers, acquaintances, friends, family you don't necessarily have naked level relations with. That kind of nudity different. And I don't afraid it. It's something I choose to subject myself to in controlled situations, not for thrills, but because I think what I gain is invaluable. I am forcing myself to let myself be vulnerable, to allow myself to be not just nude, but naked, bare, wide open and unworried about whether my belly looks unflattering in this position or my thighs in this light. I am telling myself to be unconcerned with others' perceptions of beauty and whether I fit them. To let go all society have to tell me about black and about bodies and about women and black women's bodies, because I know the dancer and science nerd in me unite in the knowledge that at the very least, by my very existence, I am an extraordinary machine. My skin and all it holds together is an amazement of beauty and function, and there should never be shame in using it for enlightenment, in any of the many ways enlightenment can come through artistic endeavor. I make myself take in the truth of seeing self through the eye of the beholder. Drawing and painting sessions come with layered anxieties. First, the obvious, of one's nakedness before others, intending to scrutinize and reproduce, and the natural fear is magnify every perceived flaw and blemish. But then comes seeing what they show you are. Mirrors, photographs, and film are nothing like seeing every part of oneself rendered by an artist's hand right there, live in the moment. Seeing your soft, previously hidden places captured boldly in a 3-minute sketch, a 15-minute sketch, a half-hour drawing, half a day in graphite and pastel and charcoal and paint. The immediacy of their seeing and rendering exactly what in front of them strips away my ability to be precious about any of me. I allow myself to be drawn in unattractive positions, crouched, squatting, hunched over in contraction, to rid myself of any lingering whispers of being less than what somebody else called perfect somehow mattering. And I don't doubt it easier for me, knowing dance keeps this body I working with at least reasonably fit, but don't think any of us exempt from insecurities. And exposing them all in close quarters affects even the most confident. But this is what performers and artists do. We bare our souls so others may connect with theirs. This is my responsibility for the choices I make to do what I do. This is part of how I keep it real, keep the journey to self moving forward. This is part of how I make art work. I've always been good at saying plenty while not necessarily sharing my actual self or letting others in. I tell stories without telling how much of me they steal, how much of myself was lost in instances gaining their existence, for individuals to find themselves living legends through my words, creating worlds for receptive eyes and ears. And though some say talk is cheap, we storytellers know well-sharpened wit trades in hundreds per hour, and well-wielded words can draw blood, because storytelling is an art honed on life lessons, on experience hard-won through heartache and mistakes. I write about being human, but usually not directly about being myself, because myself is messy. Far too sprawling and untidy for me to neatly tie up and present for consumption. Thoughts and ideas too obsocky for packaging into cleanly distilled overstandings I'm willing to share. I can only ever write my life in hindsight, never in the heated moments when I wish I could write my way to clarity and catharsis as others do. And perhaps this is why I don't write directly of the biggest things, why I speak least of the situations and circumstances that affect me most. Because by the time I can truly tell those stories, I am already beyond them, having managed somehow to survive them, trying to be an eye in the storm of life. And while we speak of the eye as a moment of beauty and stillness, the storm is what we story about, because destruction is how we learn what we are made of. And this body I inhabit is a direct means of sharing truth of the moment, in the moment, present tense, right now. Turn Me On, written and voiced by Alicia Bartels. Audio mixed and mastered by Frostblaze 868 for Dark Rain Productions, and with thanks to Josh Gray of Bumpin' Fresh Industries for literally making this possible. Thanks for listening. Walk good.